What's going on, guys? It's Bryce again. Welcome to Expedition to Try. Today I'm going to do a book review. So this week I read Screw Being Shy by Mark Metry, and it was very interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Mark wrote it for individuals dealing with social anxiety, much like he did himself. So I read it more for the interest behind it and the science. And I think anyone can really learn from this book. You don't have to have social anxiety. It's just cool to read about the science of your body and brain and how everything's connected, whether it be from the food you're eating, exercise, or just being out in the sun and sleeping, meditating, all that stuff. It all affects your head and your mindset. I just wanted to talk about the main things I took from the book to help anyone who plans on reading the book. I would highly suggest you read it, but these are some of the basics that I took from it. So the first part of the book talked about this idea of the number one regret that people say they have when they're coming to the end of their life is this idea that they lived someone else's life, as he says. So it's the idea that you're not putting your true self out there, showing who you really are to the world. You're doing whatever you can to fit in and be this person that you think the world around you wants to see. I think that's very true for really everyone. Everyone, to different extents, puts on this mask or persona to kind of hide who they truly are. And it's devastating. Like, it's unfortunate that that has to be the case, but so many people feel like they can't be themselves, and the only way to be accepted by society is to put on a mask and be someone they're not. The other part of it is the idea that people use vices to hide themselves or become someone else. So whether it be alcohol, weed, drugs of any kind, people use these vices to become someone else. So, like, at parties, for people who aren't sociable, they use alcohol to lower their barriers, and that allows them to be more loose and more comfortable with talking to other people. And he actually said that one of the first times he was able to freely talk to people was when he drank alcohol at a party. But that's not who he truly is, or was at the time. So a lot of people end up doing that. They smoke weed to relax and fit into a group and be more comfortable. Same with alcohol. You go to a party and you're afraid to talk to people, so you drink. So it's just an interesting concept of all of us putting on this persona, this mask, to be someone we're not. You shouldn't be lying to yourself or others, and you should try your best to be who you are and accept who you are. And if people don't accept you, then be with someone else. And that's obviously hard to do, but everything is a learning process. And if you're true to yourself and just practice being yourself, which seems weird that you have to practice being yourself, but it's all just getting over the judgment of other people and not worrying about the opinions of other people. So the next part, and I resonate with this, it's one of my favorite quotes from the Stoic philosophy. He says, "Death is life's greatest gift." And I fully agree with this statement. So it's this whole idea that you realize you're going to die one day, and you let that determine how you live your life. Because the one thing that we all have in common is death, but the thing we're able to control is how we live the life that we have before that point. So this idea that death comes for all of us is supposed to push you towards living a better life. And knowing that you're going to die one day prevents you from fearing those opinions of others. And it allows you to try the shit that you want to try. You look at the macro. You don't look at the micro all the time. And when you look at the macro, so your entire life as a whole, just enduring life's pains becomes so much easier when you look at the grand scheme of things. And know that when you are going to die, you're not going to look back and think like, oh, that time I got rejected. You're not going to think about that time. You're going to think of all the times that you didn't try and you didn't do the things that you wanted to do. He brought up Mark Metry, who has his own podcast, WTF with Mark Metry. He has this concept of this Immortality Project, which was really cool. I'd never heard of that. So your Immortality Project is basically your life's work. You create something while you're alive that will last into the generations after you. So it's all just, what will you do with your life in order for people to remember you after you're gone? Because the sad reality is, so many people pass away and we make this big deal about it and we're sad. But then after even just a couple days, you slowly start to fade from people's memories. And that sucks. But that's the case. And when you think about that, you realize more that, like, if you're doing what you want to be doing, nothing else matters. If you want to try something, you should try it because you don't want to have that regret at the end of your life. Know that you're going to die, but don't let that stop you from living the life you deserve to live. So then the next section is all about food. And I think this is something we all struggle with, at least in some sense. But a healthy diet is key. The food you eat affects every part of your life. It affects your mental state and obviously your physical state. But he talked about this neurotransmitter and chemical called serotonin, which I'm sure you've probably heard of. But serotonin is one of the major players in basically your sense of happiness. So he put a ton of cool examples of scientific studies where they tested the effects of your diet on your brain and the level of serotonin that's flowing through your brain, and therefore how happy individuals were based on what they ate. So just like a couple examples of like the most important vitamins and minerals for your brain: omega-3, vitamin D, potassium, tryptophan, vitamin B1, vitamin B12, B3, curcumin, magnesium. There's a ton of different minerals and vitamins that boost your brain's functioning in your body and make you more physically fit as well as mentally fit. And I think that's so cool to hear, like, the specifics of what each of those vitamins and minerals do. And again, I won't go into too much detail about all those, but he did thorough research on all these and put a ton of examples and where you can get these vitamins and minerals from, not just through supplements, but through normal foods like nuts and protein and all this different stuff. And then he goes into talking about meditation, or just taking time to be by yourself to think. Meditation allows you to take a step back, be present, and be mindful of the current situation that you're in. The goal is more to slow down your thoughts. So if you have anxiety and you are constantly thinking, the goal is to help you slow down that process. Just take a step back. Just focus on your breathing, the emotions you're feeling, your environment, what sounds you're hearing. And then if thoughts do come through, you don't bash yourself for having thoughts. You notice the thought and then simply let it pass. And then you go back to focusing on your breathing and you just focus on being present. So you're just being mindful of what's going on. And then just taking time to think and to be with yourself, it allows you to focus on those questions that you're afraid to answer. And I think a lot of us don't take the time to think about those things because we don't want to. So even bringing up death, people don't want to think about their own death and what will happen after they're gone. But it's a healthy thing to do, honestly. You can't just ignore some of these things that are going on in your head. You need to take the time to actually think about those things. And when you do, you will hopefully lose some of that anxiety you have about that. And it just helps you stay grounded and focus more on the present moment. So it's all just taking that time to be to yourself, not using your phone, not using your laptop, not watching TV, not doing anything. Just sitting there and thinking about those hard questions. Then the last thing he kind of talks about is how he overcame his social anxiety and how other people can kind of work towards that. So he talked first about like your outward appearance and your nonverbal cues. When you are anxious, you send off signals. People can tell that you're anxious or like not social because you're kind of closed off. You're looking down or you're fiddling your fingers, or whatever it might be. There's all these cues that you can give off. So it's working on being confident in your own body. So he talks about exposure therapy, actually going out there and pushing yourself to do some of these things that scare you. So the case of social anxiety, he says start by just talking to a stranger, going up and saying, "Hi, how are you? Could you tell me what time it is?" And that's it. Move on. And it doesn't even have to be that much. You can simply smile at an individual that you don't know as you're walking past. It's just taking those small steps and exposing yourself to the thing that's scaring you and slowly working yourself up. And then he talks about focusing on those traits that you love about yourself. What are the values that you're proud to have? Are you a genuinely nice person? Are you empathetic? Do you care about other people? Are you funny when you're comfortable with someone? Do you like how you dress? You can just focus on all these different things. Don't focus so much on the negatives. You focus on what you love about yourself. And when you focus on that, you feel more confident in your own body. And then it's this idea of having, he called it intellectual courage. The ideas that you want to put out there, the opinions you want to add to conversations, they are beneficial and can push conversations forward. What you have to say matters. You don't have to be afraid that when you say it, people will think you're stupid or the idea was stupid. It doesn't matter. What you have to say is worthy of being in the conversation that you're having. Just have the confidence to say what you want to say. And he talks about your environment, changing who you hang out with. They say you become the average of like the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So if you're hanging out with a bunch of losers, not to sound rude, but you're going to be a loser. No ambition. All you do is sit on the couch all day or watch TV, whatever it might be. You need to change the people you want to be around. If you want to be more social, surround yourself by more extroverts. If you want to be successful, surround yourself with more successful people. People who love to read. Whatever it is, you have to surround yourself with people who want to change their life and be better people. And then there's this last idea of realizing that everyone has gone through or is currently going through something that they're not telling anyone about because it may be hard for them. Like he brings up a bunch of celebrities and people in the public eye. They've all been through shit that not a lot of people know about them, but they've been able to work through it and become successful. It's cool to realize that other people are going through shit and they're not telling people. So you're not the only one going through stuff. Everyone has the ability to work through struggles and become a better person. Really just being confident in yourself and knowing that you will get through anything if you truly set your mind to it and want to get through it. You can do it. So I would highly suggest this book to anyone, especially if you're dealing with social anxiety. This book is definitely for you. It's super informative, has a ton of scientific studies that can help you start eating healthier, exercising more, meditation, reflecting on the idea that you're going to die. There's so much information that you can get from this book. And even if you're not socially anxious, you can still learn from this book, because we all have things that we could definitely change in our lives. I'm super glad that I was able to download this book by Mark Metry, and I commend him on having the courage to write this book and work through his social anxiety over the past few years. If you're watching this, Mark, great job on your book. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I wish you nothing but the best. And for all those watching, definitely check out this book. I think you'll all thoroughly enjoy this, and I wish you nothing but the best in your journey through social anxiety or anything you're going through. Thanks for watching. Peace out.